Hello everyone, I'm going to go over 3 multiple choice questions about the nucleus of a cell. In these questions, there's going to be an easy, a medium, and a hard one. With that being said, let's just jump right into it. Here's the easy one. What is the main function of a nucleus inside a eukaryotic cell? If we remember back to our study of cells, we have our eukaryotic cell that has a nucleus, and then we have our prokaryotic cell that doesn't have a nucleus. I always remember that U is yes, it has a nucleus, and pro is no, it doesn't have a nucleus. And this organelle is going to be responsible for holding all the DNA and protecting it and giving it a location to go through replication and transcription. So with that being said, if we look at our answers, it's pretty easy. You can see that B is going to be the correct answer. The reason why this is more of an easier question is that it's kind of like just a regurgitation. Can you memorize the fact that the nucleus has DNA and it protects it and it stores it there? So this is a lower level question of just memorizing one specific fact about what the function of a nucleus is. Here's our medium style question. It's a little bit harder. It says, which of the following terms is not part of the nucleus? So now we're not only looking at the function of the nucleus, now we're diving a little bit deeper and looking at, okay, what are the parts that make up a nucleus? What all is in the nucleus? That's a little bit deeper of a knowledge set. So knowing that, we have our nucleus, and it's actually a double membrane, which means there are 2 membranes that surround the DNA. So we have this DNA here. I'm just going to put an X there for the chromosomes. We also have these pores that allow for the mRNA to go through and go to ribosomes. And we also have this location called the nucleolus. All right, I'm just going to put a little N for there, nucleolus, that makes our RNA. So going through our answers, we have A, ribosome. There are no ribosomes in the nucleus. However, the nucleolus, like I talked about, does make parts of ribosomes. Probably going to be the answer. I'm going to go on just to make sure everything else is in the nucleus, but yeah. B, chromosomes. Yeah, we definitely find chromosomes because, again, DNA makes up those chromosomes, so B is not going to be the answer. C, nucleolus. We already talked about that. That makes our RNA. That's going to be in the nucleus. It's not our answer. D, membrane. Well, I already talked how there's actually 2 membranes that surround the nucleus, so D is not the answer. And then C, chromatin. Chromatin is the structure that's going to make up the chromosomes. DNA is going to fold into or kind of be packaged into this chromatin form, and then it's going to, again, get packaged further into these X-style chromosomes. So that is obviously in the nucleus, which means E is not the answer. A is the answer here because, again, yes, we make our RNA in the nucleus, but that's not only what ribosomes are made up of. There's other parts of the ribosome, other subcomponents, and we don't find those ribosomes in the nucleus. So that is the answer. Here's the last question, which is the most difficult. There's one reason why it's difficult, and you're going to see it in the question. It reads, which of the following best explains why the nucleus is considered a key example of eukaryotic compartmentalization? That compartmentalization word is a big word, and it usually scares and just overwhelms students. So let's talk about it. Compartmentalization is one of my favorite words to use in my AP biology classes. It's whenever you make a larger area smaller by cutting it up, or maybe not cutting it up, but at least separating it into smaller portions. Now, what our cells do is they compartmentalize by making organelles, by making smaller structures using the membrane for specific jobs. This compartmentalization makes them more efficient at their specific job. Just think like your house has rooms that are compartmentalized. Each room has a specific function, like your bathroom, your kitchen, your living room. It has things in it to make it easier to function. So whenever we're talking about compartmentalization in cells, and especially in the eukaryotic cell, we're looking at like the nucleus that compartmentalizes DNA. It puts it all in the same area in a small little compartment called the nucleus to make it easier to complete its functions like replication, like transcription. So knowing that, I'm going to look at the answers now and try to figure out which one it is. A, it spreads out the DNA so the whole cell has access to the genetic information. That sounds like the opposite of what compartmentalization is. So I'm going to scratch that one out. B, it separates DNA transcription in the nucleus from translation in the cytoplasm. I kind of like that. It's saying, hey, it's separating things. It's separating the function of transcription from the job of the translation in the cytoplasm. I'm going to leave that one go because I think it's the answer, but I'm not 100% sure. C, it allows ribosomes to assemble on mRNA immediately after transcription. No, that doesn't even happen. That happens after the mRNA leaves the nucleus, so C is out. D, it ensures all organelles share the same internal conditions. Not really. I mean, some of the conditions might be the same, but no, we don't like D as an answer. And then E, it allows genetic material to mix freely with the cytoplasmic enzymes. No, it's the exact opposite. If that would happen, the cytoplasmic enzymes could actually damage the DNA, so it's obviously not going to be the answer. So the answer here, and the correct answer, is B. It separates the DNA from the cytoplasm and gives it a specific location to go through transcription.